Hello, fellow beings of light, and welcome to episode 21 of our podcast. This is part 9 in a 12-part series entitled 6 Degrees of Soul Separation. As in, we are all 6 degrees away from the remembrance of the 6 soul aspects and corresponding consciousness fragments our galactic monads separated into, including ourselves and the reconvergence of those 6 aspects and fragments with our galactic monads to bring about not only their reawakening, but the unlocking of our own unique oversoul consciousness. In the last part of this series, I found myself more than a little puzzled. How is this series going to be 12 parts, like my team insisted upon at the outset, when as of that episode, we had already worked through all 5 of my fellow soul aspects and our light body, Leora, the inert, unawakened version of my galactic monad. I have taken a break for offering development in the time since, as well as jumped out of order with this podcast to prolong when this episode, would be recorded because of being puzzled. During that time, the 7 weeks since part 8 in this series, I have been through an indescribable amount of work and receiving when it comes to the last piece of my own 6 degrees of soul separation journey, and even beyond it. I have also spent quite a bit of time during those weeks helping others with pieces of their own journeys through some initial test runs of my new soul reclamation and oversoul reconvergence offerings. I've learned a lot through that process of beginning to help others in various phases of their soul's separation journey. I've unlocked more wisdom codes and remembrance. And I've also found myself unlocking, or rather reclaiming, pieces of my own soul aspect and its journey from separation to incarnation through those sessions. That is a bonus I wasn't expecting. A realization that as myself and others engage in these or similar type sessions, it often truly is an exchange, an experience where specific individuals are brought together for the purpose of receiving, remembering, reclaiming, and reconverging pieces of themselves through each other. The result of all this work and receiving, it has been the reconvergence of myself and my 5 fellow soul aspects with our light body Leora into one consciousness, an oversoul, and the resulting reawakening of our galactic monad, Archangel Sophiel, who I discussed a bit in episode 19, and we will get into again today, and I'm guessing over the course of the remainder of this series. I'm beyond grateful for all of that, but it's only made me more puzzled. Why 12 parts for this series? With what will be coming through in today's part and episode, I'm assuming anyway, and the fact that I'm being called to continue the next pieces of my journey personally instead of publicly moving forwards. I mean, we could be done with this series today at part 9, but I was still being called to do 12 parts. Even now, I'm being called to do 12 parts. I think I might get it, just maybe. Because A few weeks ago, I was facilitating a session for someone, and a discussion flowed from it. Question after question about monads and separation, about reconvergence, and more that are all pieces of this 6 degrees of soul separation journey we are all on, whether we are aware of it or not. During that discussion, it kind of hit me. Not only do many not understand these pieces and the processes, but many want to know and understand them. Many are ready to know and understand them. That is a shift that is occurring as we collectively begin the process of breaking through long-held distortions, as we begin the process of reclaiming our sovereignty as beings of light and as a galactic race, and as we begin the process of reclaiming and reseeding our grids, templates, and more here on Earth with the new and upgraded blueprints, always intended but denied to us. More and more individuals are becoming ready to know and understand more, to step into and embody these shifts, to join in the work that is making them possible. So, how is this part and the remaining 3 that will follow going to unfold? I'm actually not entirely sure. As I was sitting down, connecting with my team, trying to prepare for this episode, it wasn't clear. The puzzle pieces of my puzzlement weren't coming together. What I do know, though, I know we are going to delve into the last part of my personal 6 degrees of soul separation journey today that is meant to be shared publicly, because it is, for the most part, finished. Reconvergence initiated, oversoul reached, galactic monad reawakened, goals all achieved. And I know that this part and the remaining 3 will be answering questions that most have, providing answers that most are ready to know and understand when it comes to monads, light bodies, oversouls, separation, reconvergence, reawakening, and more. Answers that will aid in dispelling some of the misperceptions and distortions about the so-called ascension process that I raised in episode 19. I'm really excited for that to begin sharing, or rather to finally have the permission to begin sharing big pieces that I have been receiving over the last month, the last 5 months, and beyond. Pieces that my team has had me hold back, fully or to some extent, because it wasn't time. It is time now, though. And while I was initially feeling like the last part of my personal journey and those answers were going to be separate as we moved forward today, I am now receiving that they are going to overlap to some extent. I think that is because I have been learning, receiving the answers I'm going to be sharing throughout my own 6 degrees of soul separation journey. Because my own experience provides context for this piece of the journey in regards to our galactic monad discussion and maybe more today. And then the earlier pieces of it in regards to the discussions that will follow in the next 3 parts. And maybe even provide some codes for remembrance and understanding from what I've learned and the experience that I've had. I honestly wouldn't be surprised at this point if that was the case. So, yeah, I think we're going to be working backwards from the last piece of my journey back to the first over the course of these final 4 parts and episodes. Filling in blanks, providing answers, sharing context. Yeah. And thank you to Archangel Aurora for the coming words. I've got this. I know it. Okay, deep breath, everyone, because we're going to get into it. In the beginning, I feel like that is how this should start. It's a little silly, but I feel it. In the beginning, before Earth and the separation of beings of light that would begin incarnating upon it, populating it, those above were simply that, a whole and complete being of light, a monad, a single, undivided unit. That is our earth-based, scientific definition of a monad when it comes to many things, and the label chosen by many to define the beings of light from which we originate. It is the label that I'm going to go ahead and use because perhaps for the first time, I'm not being called to use a different one. It fits. The team is happy with it. So we're going with it. Our galactic monads are the single, undivided being of light that our soul aspect originated from above, galactically. My galactic monad is Archangel Sophiel, the second coming of the 13th Archangel, the living embodiment and pillar of sovereignty anchored into earth below, counterpart to the first 13th Archangel, Christiel, who is the living embodiment and pillar of unity, anchored galactically above. A pair that, together, will bridge the divide and separation across both, restore balance between unity and sovereignty, between the divine feminine and the divine masculine, and bring about the return of true oneness with all and with source. She sounds pretty cool, right? She definitely is, but believe me, all of our monads are pretty cool in their own ways, in their own purposes, in their own abilities, in their own stories and lineage. I know this because I have been blessed with the opportunity of helping some connect with their own via their monad's light body, their energetic body, as well as helping others connect with their monad's records, origin, and lineage. All of these things are important. The direct and indirect connections with them, because they are so much more than just our galactic monads, more than just the beings of light above that our soul aspect and fellow soul aspects separated from. They have a unique purpose, like all of us, which more often than not flows through them to us in one way or another. They have unique abilities, like all of us, which, again, more often than not, flow through them to us. They have a unique lineage and unique connections to councils, orders, specific versions of the Akash, and more, all of which we can gain access to and utilize in our own journey and in fulfilling our own purpose. As part of that lineage, they also have their galactic race, or races for hybrids, that build upon all of these things in unique ways for them and through them for us. When you hear the term starseed, it is a direct reference to this part of our galactic monads lineage. It is the galactic race or races, the stars, constellations, and more that they were birthed into. And in turn, the galactic race or races, the stars, constellations, and more that our individual soul aspect was separated from through them and then seeded or incarnated onto Earth as part of the human race. It is quite literally these stars, the galactic race or races from which we were seeded or incarnated onto the Earth from. My soul aspect is a hybrid Andromedan Lyran starseed. It was seeded, incarnated onto Earth via Andromeda, the first feminine-based race, and Lyra, the first masculine-based race. Water and fire. The two together, jointly creating all galactic races that followed. And as for the rest, I have already shared Sophiel's purpose, her mission, but her lineage is also important. Beyond being an archangel in her own right, created by the divine masculine and the divine feminine directly, she was birthed into a combination of two important lineages. Her Andromedan mother is a direct descendant of Archangel Aurora, personified in Matt. And her Lyran father is a direct descendant of Archangel Raphael, personified in Thoth. These grandparents are both members of the original 12 archangels, 13 if you count Christiel, who were created directly from the divine masculine and the divine feminine, and who became the creators of Andromeda and Lyra, and then all of the galactic races that flowed forward from them. These two grandparents, they open up access to many things for me. Access to those original archangels, beyond them merely being guides, as most of us know them as. Access to their counsel, their records, the ability to have an audience with them, which currently consists of trying to get at least a majority of them on board with the mission of bridging unity and sovereignty, of restoring balance between them, and oneness throughout for all, of allowing the human race to take their place, not as an experiment that has been set up to fail over and over, but as a sovereign galactic race that is here to stay that has a purpose amongst the other races as half of the bridge, as half of the equation needed to restore balance and oneness, of allowing the earth and those amongst the human race to reseed their blueprints, take control of them, remove the distorted pyramid ones given to us, and replace them with the upgraded diamond ones that were always intended to be used. And not just allowing, I've come to realize, but actually aiding us in doing so and allowing the effects that follow those shifts to be spread above as well, because that is necessary. They also open up the seraphic records for me and the higher level and much older Order of the Sacred White Flame records, as well as each other's primary order, the Andromedan Order of the Sapphire Flame for Archangel Aurora, and the Lyran Emerald Order for Archangel Raphael. Beyond them, Sophiel's parents also add something interesting to the mix. They open up the Andromedan and Lyran-based Amethyst Order, which I believe plays a role in part of my own purpose and mission on Earth and galactically. The reconverging of the separated divine masculine and feminine, Lyra and Andromeda, flame and water, bringing balance that restores them as one along the same frequency that is source. This Amethyst Order was Above's attempt to restore balance before the concept of Earth and monad separation became a concept. And now I and many others are carrying out its missions below. Now, I know I have shared a lot of orders and access points here, and I haven't really gotten into what they are because it's not necessary. My reason for sharing them is in part to share who my galactic monad Sophiel is, obviously. But more importantly, it is to share with all of you the vast amount of access to knowledge, abilities, and even support in the forms of guides and galactic family that we all have access to if we seek out and connect with our galactic monad. So, how do we do that? How do we communicate with our galactic monads? We don't. Not directly, not fully. Not until reconvergence of all 6 of their fragments occurs and they are reawakened. I didn't fully connect with mine, with Sophiel, until the end of April, just over a month ago. You're probably not expecting that because I've told you that we can connect with them and communicate with them. And isn't that what I've been doing this whole time, throughout this series, throughout all the episodes? We can, but not directly. And no, my galactic monad is not who I have been connecting with in all the prior parts of this series. Confusing? I bet. So I'll clarify. We can seek out and connect with our light body, the light body and energetic body that we share with our fellow 5 soul aspects and our galactic monad. The light body and energetic body that they separated into. The part of them that remains conscious and accessible to us, while they remain separated into 6 pieces, into 6 consciousness fragments. While their physical being, as we would define it as humans, is essentially frozen in time, stuck in a state of inertia, not able to be accessed. Now, I'm not going to get into the separation, reconvergence, or reawakening process. Not today. I'm being called to save those discussions for the parts, the episodes that will follow this one. Conveniently, 3 topics for 3 remaining parts. So there you go. Puzzle solved. What I am going to get into, however, is how you can begin reconnecting with that part of your galactic monad, with their light body, their energetic body, 1/6 of which you share with them. That is your access point. Your soul aspect's energetic body and consciousness is a 1/6 piece of your galactic monad's energetic body and consciousness. Their light body, your shared light body with them and with the 5 fellow soul aspects to separate from it. My own shared light body is Leora. That is the name that I received for that aspect of my galactic monad. It literally translates to my light. I suppose that was her way of telling me, hey, I'm your light body. That is the aspect of my galactic monad that we have been discussing and that I have been connecting with throughout this series until now, until the reconvergence and reawakening that has opened up my ability to connect with my galactic monad, Sophiel, directly through Leora, through that shared light body, through that 1/6 connection to her. I was able to accomplish a few things. I was able to begin connecting with and gain access to Akashic records for each of my 5 fellow soul aspects to separate from our galactic monad. I could also gain access to Akashic records for my galactic monad, primarily being able to know more and more of her personal journey when it came to her purpose and our jointly held purpose. The things I needed to know and understand to begin putting together the pieces of what happened and what needs to happen. You might be noticing both of these things are also an indirect form of connection. That is because I wasn't initially able to communicate with Leora like I would with a guide. That is something that took more time, or rather, it took building those connections with my 5 fellow soul aspects. The more of them I connected with, communicated with, and gained access to records for, the more I could receive from and interact with her. That is because my 1/6 piece was growing into a connected, reconverged, larger portion of the whole. If you were following along during the initial parts of this series, then you know that my 1/6 piece became 2/6 with Ira, then 3/6 with Shima, then 4/6 with Aya, before the episode regarding Leora and direct connection and communication with her. I had access to more of our shared light body, to more of the whole energetic body and consciousness. Once I did, the more my access grew, the more I could connect directly with Leora and communicate with her like I would any guide, or rather like my inner child, because Sophiel was a child when she separated, when my light body Leora came to be. We totally began hanging out and interacting just like you would with your inner children or your higher self or your guides if you're that close to them like I am. It was a beautiful thing. And it is a thing that is becoming increasingly easier for all of you, whether you realize it or not. All the shifts that are currently happening, all the work that I and others are putting into those shifts, they are bringing us closer than ever to our galactic connections, including our light bodies, and through them, our galactic monads. They are increasing communication, collaboration, co-creation, if you will, between the human race of Earth and the galactic races above. Old distortions are fading for all above and below. Truths and understanding are rising for all above and below. More and more are receiving. More and more are remembering. These shifts are time. It is now. And to facilitate this ease and the accompanying pace of reconnecting, reconverging, and reawakening, there are a growing number of individuals who, like me, are able to utilize their higher frequency and connection to overlay it with others and share it with them so that they can connect with their fellow soul aspects, with their light body, and even their monads records without the long journeys we ourselves had to take in order to get to that point. I don't know who all of those individuals are, but I do know they are out there. I can sense them, and my team assures me that they do exist and they are preparing for or are already engaging in the work. You can reconnect with these pieces of your journey, with your fellow soul aspects, with your light body, and eventually your galactic monad itself. Through myself and my soul reading, soul reclamation, and oversoul reconvergence offerings, through others offering soul work and soul integration based sessions. Yourself, if you so choose, by setting an intention to connect with these pieces of yourself and seeking them out, much the same way that you do with your higher self. And as you do so, give yourself grace. Be cognizant of the fact that it is going to take time on your own, that you will likely follow a path similar to the one that I have shared throughout this series. You may find yourself connecting with the records of your fellow soul aspects, or maybe receiving a message from one or more of them that serves as guidance for who and what you are connecting with and how to move forward with more records or more direct communication. I'm even going to help you out a bit with that part, with the incorporation of a light body connection journey and activation for this week's 6/6 portal. It is actually something that I was called to do back when this podcast and my offerings were first getting started under our old name back in October and November through a bonus to our awareness upgrade course, a journey in which I facilitated the ability of those new to their journey to experience my light body through me, and those further along to experience their own through me as well. I'm looking forward to expanding upon that this week, and maybe I'll even throw in an opportunity to connect with fellow soul aspects. We will see what flows when I sit down to record it. So watch out for that this Friday, 6/6, and join us again next week for our next regular podcast episode, which normally I'd be sharing what we will be discussing, but if you haven't noticed lately, my team has shook everything up, and I'm just going with the flow and what is coming through during the week and in the moment. It's a little nerve-wracking, but it's also incredibly fun. So I'm okay with them keeping me on my toes for probably the first time since I've begun connecting deeper with all of them. Don't tell them I said that. I know they're probably listening, right? The next part of this journey and this new knowledge-based segment, it's not really a segment, it's a combination, it's a mixture. We'll return the week after, and we will be getting into the separation process during that, what that was, as well as how it was intended to occur, what actually happened, and maybe some initial guidance to how we get back on track. Once again, we'll see. Other than those things, if what was shared today resonated with you, if you feel the call to begin working on these pieces of your own journey and would like help, I am going to leave links to my relevant offerings in the description. My Galactic Soul readings, which provide insight into your starseed origin, your soul's purpose and abilities, and more for your remembrance. Great for beginners, but also those seeking clarification, confirmation, or support in their own work. And my more in-depth soul reclamation and oversoul reconvergence sessions, which aid you in reconnecting not only with your fellow soul aspects, shared light body, and eventually your galactic monad, but with the pieces that your specific soul aspect picked up at various points galactically between separation from your monad and incarnation on Earth. Pieces that are connected to your purpose and role on Earth. Okay, then. I'm apparently being called to offer the 3-part one-on-one session options for all of those offerings for okay, half off. Half off the usual exchange. So I will be leaving the code for that in the description as well. And, we'll go ahead and have that run throughout the month of June in celebration of the upcoming summer solstice. I hope some of you will take advantage of that, and not for monetary reasons, but because I am very much looking forward to more of those sessions and those experiences in aiding not only others in their own journeys, but in adding bits and pieces to my own along the way through them, because it is a beautiful thing. It is a beautiful experience for both sides. I have done probably 10 of those sessions over the last, I don't even know, not a full month, 3, 4 weeks. And it has been a lot, but it has been beautiful. So I hope to see some of you in sessions. Agadishkatakati.